The silence of an era is now fading into history with you. While everyone is silent, your light is tearing all the shadows, all the slanders, rumors, and dark intentions hidden behind you are now coming to light one by one. When you carry the nobility of your heart and the true crown of your soul, even your greatest opponents are forced to bow their heads. Write 555 in the comments now, because in their world, power is measured by ostentation. In yours, truth is measured by humility and divine justice. While they were defending their seats and titles, you appeared before them with the weight of truth, an invisible crown, when they least expected it. Imagine the breaking dawn after the coldest, blackest winter, where a single ray slips through the clouds and wraps every corner in honest light. That's what's unfolding now. The hush of midnight, where secrets crept and doubts multiplied, is finally giving way to the certainty of sunrise. The people who walked with you, breaking bread and sharing laughter, can no longer disguise the thunderclouds gathering in their gaze. Once, whispers clung to the walls, breeding confusion and gnawing away at trust. But now, every scheme that was stitched together under the cloak of envy, every plan that twisted your name in the silence, is stepping into broad daylight for all of heaven and earth to see. That moment when you notice the tremor, a flicker of embarrassment, a shadow darting behind their eyes. Beloved, that's not just shame. It's the proof that the time for quiet endurance has run its course. It's a holy signal that God is about to swap out your season of pain for a testimony of justice. You see, a sunrise like this is more than just the end of a night. It's the trumpet announcing a fresh start. Think of a garden bursting through soil after the ground's been frozen for so long. The old frost cannot hold back the roots of new life. Your story, marked by nights of uncertainty, now unfolds into a chapter written in daylight, where what was hidden gets revealed, and what was broken is brought to wholeness. God's hand has already started to unravel every lie and untangle every knot tied by jealousy. The spotlight of truth isn't cruel, it's compassionate, peeling back layers not to embarrass you, but to heal you and show your true reflection to the world. You are stepping into a moment where even the ones who tried to undermine your journey must acknowledge the radiance shining from your soul. Their masks, so carefully painted in the night, melt away in the warmth of a love and purpose they can't imitate or deny. That's why, when the world tries to make you shrink or question your path, you rise instead. Like the sun itself, you just keep shining, letting every shadow prove how bright your destiny really is. Beloved, God didn't let you wander through those lonely corridors for nothing. Every silent tear watered the ground for this breakthrough harvest. You have survived the games and the gossip not by accident, but by design. The guilt in their eyes is not your burden to carry. It is the evidence that your season has shifted. Stand tall, for heaven is turning the page, and your sunrise is here to stay. Imagine a field just after a long, hard rain, beloved. The ground is heavy, and every hidden stone, every buried root is suddenly pushed up to the surface by the weight of that downpour. In much the same way, there are people who thought they could drape themselves in cloaks of secrecy, moving only in the shadows, murmuring their stories behind closed doors, sure that nobody would ever see through their disguise. But the moment your spirit stood up in the sunlight, with a confidence forged by trial and faith, those invisible cloaks slipped right off their shoulders like yesterday's news. They once gathered behind curtains, wielding your name as a weapon in conversations you weren't even meant to overhear. It was as if they thought their words could be lost in the wind, scattered and gone forever. But let me tell you, when a chosen soul carries the anointing of the Most High, every careless whisper, every sly remark, every twisting of your story finds its way back to the surface, just like those stones after the storm. Your unwavering courage became the very light that exposed their hidden plots. Where they hoped to hide in secrecy, your presence brought the noonday clarity. Now, every tale spun in the dark, every distorted half-truth, every rumor once shrouded in fog is being called into the open, powerless and harmless under the eye of divine truth. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom. For you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. You see, nothing sown in darkness can survive when the sun of righteousness rises. Every weapon formed against you has been rendered useless, because, chosen one, you're standing in a light that no slander can diminish. All those schemes and whispered words may have bruised the surface, but not a single one can reach the core of what God has placed inside you. The tide has turned in your favor, and now what once was used to harm you is being transformed into testimony. The soil of your life, once weighed down by rain, is breaking forth with new roots and new growth, and every eye that doubted will see the harvest that only God could bring from the storm. Like a watchman on the night's wall, you could sense a shifting in the spiritual wind, those sudden goosebumps, the heavy hush that settled in when you entered certain places were never just coincidence. That was heaven sounding the alarm deep inside your spirit, reminding you that God keeps His own on high alert. While you were climbing rung after rung on Jacob's ladder, celebrating every victory with a grateful heart, they were down in the valley, plotting new detours and digging ditches. Every little triumph you shared became a target for their arrows of envy. But here's the miracle. Just as a storm uncovers what's been buried, now every tampered image, every twisted word will stand not as proof of your defeat, but as undeniable evidence of how the enemy's arrows fell harmless at your feet. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Let me tell you, beloved, this wasn't just about sensing bad vibes. It was the Holy Spirit Himself tuning your frequency higher so you could discern the wolf in sheep's clothing before they ever made a move. They tried to use your own moments of joy as fuel for their whispers, believing if they spun your blessings into curses, they could stop what God had started. But the joke is on them, because heaven writes the final chapter, not in disappearing ink, but in letters of fire that the world can't erase. Your milestones weren't trophies for the jealous to collect. They were stones of remembrance set by God Himself to remind the whole assembly that what He opens, no man can shut. And now, like rain washing mud from the stained glass, the record is being made clear. Where they tried to rewrite your story, every receipt, every screenshot, every snide remark is coming to light as testimony, not of your weakness, but of their desperate attempts to shadow what can't be dimmed. God is using their schemes as stepping stones beneath your feet, lifting you to a place where no manufactured rumor can reach. This is more than vindication, it's restoration. The same chills that once signaled spiritual warfare are now the heralds of a breakthrough so real. The doubters won't be able to keep quiet. You're not just surviving the storm, you're dancing in the downpour, crowned in the light that never goes out. And as you keep pressing on, know that the atmosphere is shifting. The whispers of the enemy grow faint, while the song of your victory rings louder every day. For every time you were misunderstood, for every celebration that became a battleground, the Lord is returning joy with interest. The book is being balanced. What was meant to wound will become your witness, and what tried to bury you will become the soil from which your destiny blooms. Hallelujah! This is your time to rise, radiant, unashamed, and whole. Imagine a garden in late autumn, beloved, where every loose leaf and tangled vine tries to cover what's underneath. But when the north wind comes, it sweeps away the cover, exposing the earth to pure sunlight. That's what's happening now as truth begins to blow across the old battlefield of your reputation. All those tales they tried to sew into your story, labels pinned to your coat, intentions ascribed that never lived in your heart, are stripped away by the cleansing breath of divine honesty. While they spent restless nights concocting ways to twist your triumphs into reasons for their own stumbles, heaven watched, waiting for the moment when every pretense would be scattered like chaff before the storm. Each rumor they whispered was nothing but a brittle fence holding back the ocean. In the glare of your authenticity, flimsy barricades snap and splinter, leaving no place to hide for insecurity or envy. See, their fortress of fiction wasn't protecting anyone but their own wounded pride, their fear that your light would reveal what they lacked the courage to develop within themselves. God allowed the storm to roll in, not to drown you, but to rinse away everything false and show the world the true gold beneath. And just as that bare garden readies itself for a new season, so is your life being prepared for greater blooming. The lies that once seemed overwhelming have become fertilizer for your destiny. What was meant for evil is turning to nourishment in your soil. Where old voices tried to dictate the next chapter, the Spirit is now the only author, and every onlooker has to acknowledge what's rising from the ground they thought they had buried you in. Your roots go deeper now. Your branches stretch wider than before, and nothing that was spoken against you can keep you from flourishing. Beloved, when you stand in this light, let your heart rest easy. The world is seeing not the caricature they painted, but the masterpiece heaven always knew you were. You're not just surviving a storm, you're thriving in it, being made whole by every gust that was supposed to break you. The real story is being written by the hand of God Himself, and there's not a whisper, a rumor, or a plot in the world that can change the outcome already promised over your life. Keep standing tall. The garden is yours, and the wind is working for you now. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. It's like a spotlight breaking through a stormy night. One sudden beam revealing every hidden trespass on the land. The master of disguise, who thought they could paint you as the villain while pulling strings from the shadows, will be brought into the center of the stage by the hand of destiny itself. Imagine all their hidden ledgers, secret blueprints, and whispered meetings being rolled out for everyone to see, just as a floodlight exposes every line of a map after a blackout. The one who watched your destiny with envy, who set their plans in motion before others could even sense the shift in the air, will now face the truth with no curtain to hide behind. Beloved, this isn't just about one person. It's about a revelation rippling through every relationship you hold dear. Those who were turned into chess pieces, those who doubted, those whose faith wavered, will witness how every move was calculated by a master manipulator, desperate to keep you from your promise. The fog of confusion is lifting, the masquerade is over, and the hands that once moved the board will tremble in plain view. Just as sunrise dissolves every shadow, the true architect of the plot is about to be unmasked before a crowd that cannot look away. In this hour, let the message settle into your spirit like a lighthouse guiding ships to safety. What was plotted in secret is now written in the sky for all to read. Not a single scheme, not a single slander can outrun the light of truth that God has ordained to shine through you. And when the last mask falls, every heart will know who stood in truth all along. And the authority that was always yours by divine appointment will be evident for every eye to see. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Just imagine a garden after a heavy rain. Each puddle, each spot of mud isn't a blemish, but a mirror reflecting the sunlight when the clouds finally part. That's the story of your journey, beloved. The ones who hid in the shadows, who never had the courage to face you in the light, tried to trip you up with sly words and quiet schemes. They stalked your every step, waiting for a slip they could parade as proof that you were never meant to rise. When your foot caught on a stone or your stride slowed for a season, they called out your stumbles, hoping your story would end there. But just like rain only makes a garden richer, every so-called failure on your path became the fertile ground for something greater. You see, in the eyes of heaven, your missteps are not stains on your story. They are the seeds God uses to prove His hand is on you. Those moments of pain and pause are turned into testimonies of growth and transformation. For every time your name was dragged through the mud, your roots dug deeper and your spirit reached higher. The ones who magnified your struggle forgot that God Himself knows how to take broken pieces and arrange them into a masterpiece that dazzles every critic. Let this be your assurance. Every attempt to reduce your journey to a headline or a rumor is just another rainstorm watering the destiny that's been growing in you since before you were born. While your critics are busy counting your stumbles, God is counting your steps, and each one is moving you closer to the harvest He promised. So walk on, chosen one, with your head high and your heart open, knowing that not a single setback is wasted in the hands of the divine gardener. Picture a weathered oak tree standing tall on the highest hill, branches reaching out in all directions, refusing to bow even as storms rage all around it. The world below might toss accusations like leaves in the wind, but the oak doesn't twist to please the breeze. It simply stands, its roots deep in sacred earth, unmoved by passing tempests. That's what's happening now. Every carnival maze, every bent reflection, every trick mirror shatters in the presence of your unwavering truth. For every label they tried to paste, rowdy, distant, insincere, unfeeling, their words fall away like acorns on autumn grass, unable to alter what was planted by the hand of heaven. See, beloved, their whole performance was a sideshow to the real revelation. You were never meant to fit into their carnival's crooked funhouse. You carry the blueprint of something eternal, something that doesn't warp under the spotlight or shrink beneath scrutiny. Let them scramble for new scripts and new roles. Your reflection is no stage prop. Your spirit was carved by the master craftsman, made to hold firm when lesser structures collapse. And now, as those funhouse mirrors splinter and collapse to the ground, it's your true self, rooted in faith, glowing with that holy constancy, that becomes the lighthouse for every eye, looking for what's real. No more distortion, no more masks, no more trying to fit the mold. The hour has struck, the game is over, and your God-given identity radiates with a clarity that shakes the room. There's nothing left for the masqueraders to do but watch as the original, what was hidden in you all along, steps out from behind the shattered glass and takes its rightful place in the sun. Think of the way a potter places a lump of clay in the kiln. The intense heat isn't there to destroy, but to reveal what's durable beneath the surface. That's how your journey has unfolded. Every injustice, every rumor, every sidelong glance was just another turn in the kiln, toughening your resolve, drawing out your true colors. You weren't shaped by the world's fleeting opinions, but by the Master's steady hand and the divine fire he allowed. The world called you stubborn, but heaven called you steadfast. When falsehoods tried to rewrite your story, you didn't crumble or conform. You let the heat draw out what was pure and unbreakable in you. As the winds of scandal and slander tried to batter your reputation, you stood unmoved, like a lighthouse that refuses to fall, even as storms rage and waves pound. While others wavered, shifting shapes to fit in, ducking truth for approval, you planted your roots deep in God's promises, letting the winds pass while your leaves stayed green. The gossip, the criticism, the schemes, they all spent themselves like a storm losing power at the shore. You learned that only those rooted in something eternal can withstand every season and come out stronger, brighter, and more authentic on the other side. Now, in the light of your endurance, those who watched and waited for your downfall have no choice but to bear witness as their own fortress of schemes gives way. It's like the rising sun melting a fog bank. Suddenly, everything hidden is made plain, and the only thing left standing is the structure built on solid ground. Your story is no cautionary tale. It's a testimony to the power of integrity over intrigue, and a living promise that no amount of worldly fire can tarnish what God Himself has sealed. Beloved, this is your moment. You are not a survivor by accident. You are a living epistle, written in the ink of perseverance, read aloud by the winds of change. Where others see endings, you see God's new beginnings. Where they see ruin, you see the blueprints for something sacred. The potter's hand never left you in the furnace, and now, pulled from the fire, you gleam with a brilliance that cannot be counterfeited. You've become a signpost for everyone lost in the valley, a beacon that reminds us all. True worth is forged, not found, and God's chosen always rise when the ashes clear. Think of your life like a sturdy oak tree, rising in the center of a storm-battered field. The winds have howled, lightning has split branches, and rain has washed the earth raw. But that mighty tree didn't weather all those seasons just to stand as a warning to others. It stands now to offer shade, fruit, and shelter to anyone weary from the journey. That's your testimony, beloved. God didn't let the fire burn you just so you'd keep score. He raised you through every flame so you could become a living sanctuary, a well of blessing to all who cross your path. After all the betrayals and battles, the story isn't about keeping a list of wrongs or plotting payback. There's a grander design unfolding, one that turns old wounds into doorways for hope. When the last act of this painful drama fades and the final curtain is drawn, you'll find yourself not at the edge of revenge, but on a new stage, a platform built by faith, not by bitterness. And from this place, your voice will echo with the weight of every lesson learned in secret, every tear gathered and turned to wisdom. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially, far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. Imagine stepping into boardrooms where your integrity shifts the whole atmosphere. Policies change because the very air around you demands honesty and fairness. Families once torn by misunderstanding are drawn together again because the mercy in your words resets the tone, much like rain washes away yesterday's dust and lets the flowers start fresh. Congregations that lost their vision will catch new fire because your story burns with the authority of someone who's walked through flames and still carries the scent of heaven. You're not simply surviving. No, you're composing the next movement in a symphony only heaven could have orchestrated. Every choice you make, every word you speak, builds a new foundation where the old one collapsed. The pen in your hand is divine. Every line, every signature, every blessing you pour out becomes part of a legacy that can't be erased by rumor or by slander. The world may have meant to write you off, but God's using your life to write an unbreakable promise into history. So let your heart rise above the trap of vengeance. Stand tall in the knowledge that your scars are seeds, your battles are blueprints, and your setbacks are the very chapters God will use to bless generations after you. The harvest coming from your faithfulness will feed multitudes. Your legacy will be a shelter, a landmark, and a new standard for what blessing really means. This is not survival. This is holy authorship, beloved, and the ink is just beginning to flow. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Imagine a garden once choked by weeds and thorns, written off as barren ground by all who passed. Yet through seasons of drought and storm, a single seed presses upward, breaks through hardened earth, and blossoms into a strong, sheltering tree. That tree, beloved, is the testimony your journey has written in the soil of your life. Its branches reach wide, not only to weather your own storms, but to cast a sanctuary of shade for all who draw near. In a world where division and mistrust often take root, your presence is like cool water poured over parched land. Where old grudges once scorched the spirit, your words now plant the roots of reconciliation. The fruit of your endurance, wisdom, mercy, discernment, nourishes every weary soul who rests beneath your canopy. Where confusion spread, like a summer wildfire. Your steady insight now brings order and understanding, gently guiding the lost back to solid ground. Consider the families that once splintered under the weight of misunderstanding. Your compassion becomes the sap that flows between broken branches, knitting what was severed back into unity. The quarrels and conflicts that others could not resolve are soothed by the gentleness of your spirit, a peacekeeper whose roots run deep into sacred promise. Remember, every storm that shook your trunk, every bolt of criticism, and every wind of rumor did not break you, but instead pushed your roots deeper into the living water of truth. That's why your resilience stands as a testament, a living sermon to anyone seeking hope. Neighbors gather in your shade, strangers find rest beneath your limbs, and generations will remember the shelter you provided in a time of relentless trial.